Hi, I'm Marilyn, and I want to welcome you today to Exposing Grief. When we expose anything, it becomes less threatening. To expose loss and grief will provide us with some emotional control. In 2020, we laid the foundation for these conversations. Over 12 episodes, we outlined how loss and grief can and does occur at any age or any stage in life. You can go back and listen to those foundational podcast episodes, or you can begin listening today as part of your journey to be more mentally and emotionally healthy. This journey is personal. You cannot force or coerce anyone to be more healthy, whether physically or mentally. The person has to be willing to do all the hard work in order to see results. You, of course, can encourage them that they will be successful. When someone is dealing with loss and grief, the initial response can be complete shock, even when the loss is anticipated. For instance, if someone is in hospice, you can generally expect them to pass away within a 6-month time period. Yet when the loss happens, your mind can say, "I don't believe this happened." Our unbelief is a coping mechanism. Our brain tries to keep itself and our bodies safe. So this is really a protective response. In reality, you do understand the person has passed away and will not be returning. Acceptance can take some time. When shock lingers, it can become complete denial of the situation or circumstance. Denial is certainly a part of the grieving process. The sooner we can move past shock and denial, we can begin to heal. In some instances, shock and denial can lead to depression. Depression is more difficult to process than shock and denial. Shock and denial are almost like fantasy, where you are unable to distinguish between reality and non-reality. There is the possibility you can even stop eating because your body forgets to be hungry. Many thoughts are running through your mind, but you can't focus on any one thought. Shock is difficult to describe and even more difficult to pinpoint. In the processing of loss and grief, there is so much going on mentally and physically that some people become overwhelmed and shut down emotionally. It is critical that the person not be left to work through all of this mental chaos alone. It can be uncomfortable being with someone who is struggling with shock and denial, but it's important to try and help them get a handle on what they're experiencing. There are mental health professionals who specialize in grief counseling. If you have struggled for months and cannot seem to come out of the fog of shock and denial, there is no shame in seeking professional assistance in order to acquire the tools and skills necessary to reclaim your life. Shock is not a friend to your physical body. Many have died due to shock, so it is important to try and ascertain when shock is affecting someone. Most of us are aware that shock can occur when there is a physical injury, but unfortunately, shock can also occur when there is an emotional injury. Again, knowledge helps us navigate unfamiliar territory. Most of us will not experience shock in our lifetime. That is good news, but anytime anyone we care about has a difficult time coping, then we can be affected as well. A grieving mom or dad can affect the entire family, so it is important to talk about our emotions. Not everyone will be supportive of those conversations, but I am confident that each of us can locate at least one person to listen. These conversations about loss, grief, and emotional well-being are necessary and perhaps well overdue. Be a part of these important conversations. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to visit with you next time on Exposing Grief.